Good morning. Hope everyone's doing well. Let us welcome everyone here and everyone that's watching online to the Newport News Church of Christ here in 72nd Street in Newport News, Virginia. All righty. If you're following along in your Bibles, let's go ahead and open to John chapter 4. That's where we'll be starting today, John chapter 4. We're going to be talking about Jesus and the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4. We're now ending the Lord's ministry in Judea. The duration of this ministry is about 3 to 8 months. Now it's time for him to go back to Galilee. The Bible tells us why he left Judea and went to Galilee. We learned that in John 4, 1 through 3, which we're going to read in a few minutes. Matthew and Mark say it's because Herod took John into custody. John says it's because of the Pharisees. Luke explains more of the reason John was taken into custody. It was because he reprimanded Herod because he was living with his brother's wife. We'll get into that more as we read the text. And all these reasons apparently drove Jesus into Galilee. The events that happened in John 4 because he traveled through Samaria. We're in for an action-packed lesson today. But let's just go ahead and read John chapter 4, 1 through 30. John 4, 1 through 30. When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria. Then cometh he into the city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being weary with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said unto her, Give me to drink, for his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it thou, being a Jew, askest to drink of me, which is a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Let's keep our finger right there. We're going to touch on that next in verse 9. But to continue, Jesus answered and said unto her in verse 10, If thou knowest the gift of God, and who is it that saith to thee, Give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked him, and he would have given thee living water. And the woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall be in the well of the water spring up into everlasting life. Verse 15, the woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go call thy husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast is not thy husband, and that saidest thou truly. And the woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. For the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, and for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And in verse 25, the woman said unto him, I know that the Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he shall tell us of these things. And Jesus said unto her, I that speak unto you am he. And upon this came his disciples, and marveled that he talked with a woman, yet no man said, What seekest thou? Or why talkest thou to her? The woman then left her water pot and went into the city and said unto the men, Come ye, see a man which told me of all the things I ever did. Is not this the Christ? Then they went out of the city and came unto him. Kind of a long reading, but let's go back up to verse 9. I want to touch on one important latter part of the sentence in verse 9. For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Let's talk about that for a second. Why did the Jews not have dealings with the Samaritans? Yes.
They never had a with the Jews.
Yes, that, but also anybody else got something? But it's one truly important thing that happened in history, or why they truly have no dealings with them. Anybody else? I'm sorry? The Samaritans, yes. Aha, got you. Something you guys don't know. I got you. So you guys usually are ahead of me, but now I'm ahead of y'all. All right, so a writer by the name of Flavius Josephus, he wrote about a ton of books that go over through the intertestament period, all the things that happened in between the Old and the New Testament. But while this was going on, the Samaritans did something that the Jews truly did not like. Let's see what he wrote about this. So when Alexander had thus settled the matters at Jerusalem, he had led his army into the neighboring cities. And when all the inhabitants to whom he came received him with great kindness, the Samaritans, seeing that Alexander had so greatly honored the Jews, determined to profess themselves Jews. For such is the disposition of Samaritans, as we have already elsewhere declared, that when the Jews are an adversary, they deny that they are kin to them, and they confess the truth. But when they perceive that some good fortune hath befallen them, they immediately pretend to have communion with them, saying that we belong to them and drive their genealogy. In lamest terms, in better terms, the Samaritans would be kin to the Jews when good things happen. But when bad things happen, we're not Jews. We share no kindred. We share no blood with them. We can liken this. We all have that one cousin who says, we're not really cousins. We're only cousins because your insert relative here married my insert relative here. But as soon as someone dies and the will is being read, they're right there in the front row waiting to see what they can get. The Samaritans were the exact same way with the Jews. Every time something bad happened, when they came up with adversary with another nation or something of that nature, oh, we're not Jews. You don't have to deal out that punishment to us. We don't like them either. We're not even kin. But as soon as something good happens, as some reward is passed down to the Jews, oh, no, we're Jews. And we hundreds of years ago, our families intertwined. We're Jews. We have Jewish blood running through us. And this is another reason why they had no dealings with the Samaritans. They called them the fair weather Jews. When things were fair, when things were going good, they were Jews. When things were going wrong, when things were bad, well, we're not Jews. Yes, ma'am. I can understand what you're saying. I can understand what you're getting at here. But when Paul said that I am a Jew, it is not of faith, of religion. It was of love. Because yes, he was a Jew, but he was a follower of Christ. Christian. Yes, sir.
Paul was killing Christians.
Paul was killing Christians as well. They were Jews by bloodline, but they were Christians. But it was also Gentiles who were Christians as well. You're welcome. Let's get into our first point, the preliminary actions of Jesus. He had to go through Samaria. Most Jews would go around Samaria. Why? The reason I just stated there. They were fair weather Jews, and they just disliked them. They disliked them so much that they would add an extra 3 days to their trip, extra 72 hours to their trip, just going around Samaria. Imagine not liking someone so much that you just go around an entire state just to avoid it. They would cross the Jordan into Galilee and travel to the east bank of the Jordan. They would cross again into Judea. The route, like I said, the route taken, a whole extra 3 days. Could you imagine not liking someone to say in North Carolina? Instead of just taking I-95 straight down to go wherever you're going, all the way around North Carolina, into Tennessee, down to Alabama, through and get to Georgia just to get where you're going, past South Carolina. That's a waste of gas. Exactly. Exactly. It is definitely a waste of gas and a waste of time just to not like someone. But if they had to go through Samaria, they would not stop. But Jesus, being hot and tired, he stopped. He stopped at the well. It says that it was the 6th hour of the day, so it would be around noon our time. The sun is at its highest point, and it's literally probably the hottest time of the day. So Jesus was tired. He was tired, and he was thirsty. So he stopped at a well. But he was traveling, so he didn't necessarily have the right equipment to go into the well, grab water, and drink from it. So we had to sit there and wait. Women would be carrying big empty jars of clay to the well. The purpose, of course, was to fill them up. But something was probably wrong with it. Why is that? Because she was getting water. It was noon, and she was getting water at noon. Most of the girls would come, women and girls would come at dusk or dawn, so they could then be associated with the other women. That was basically the local meeting spot for most of the women there. They would meet at the water, they would meet at the well, they would talk, exchange pleasantries, get their water, and go back home. This woman was there by herself. And he talked to her, which, if you know Jewish culture, that's a huge number. It's taboo. They even still do this today. Even some aren't even in the same room by themselves. It has to be another male present of a certain age for them to even be in the same room as a woman. But for a Jew to talk to a Samaritan man was bad enough. But Jesus was speaking to a Samaritan woman. So he was in double trouble. First of all, speaking to a Samaritan. Second of all, speaking to a woman. So Jesus was in double trouble. This was beyond unheard of. The Jews wouldn't even talk to a Jewish woman unless it was their mother or their sisters. For him to ask for a drink was unfathomable. She was stunned at this ask, which is why you see in verse 9 her response. How is it thou, being a Jew, asking a drink of me, which is a woman of Samaria? But the Jews had no dealings with the Samaritans. Going back to Jesus, the God not being a respected person. He didn't care that she was a Samaritan. He didn't care about the non-biblical Jewish policies, the laws that they made laws and added to law. Jesus was looking to teach, to save souls. As a footnote, in many versions, you would read, Jews do not even use dishes that the Samaritans use. So now, you were in triple trouble now. You're talking to a Samaritan, you're talking to a woman, and you're using the same dish that a Samaritan touched. So now you can understand just how unfathomable, how crazy all of this sounded to her. So you're speaking as a Samaritan, speaking to me as a woman, and you're touching the same dish that I'm touching. That would have been insane. That would have been insanity. You could just imagine the look of her face that Jesus even spoke to. Not only did he speak, he asked him. But let's look at our next point, the main interaction between Jesus and the woman. We're going to focus mainly on John 4:10-26, a lively discussion. Jesus talks about a living water in John 4:10-15. Jesus said that she should be asking him for the living water. Again, Jesus is turning everyday faith into a lesson of salvation. He did the same thing in Nicodemus. You must be born again of water and the Spirit to inherit eternal life. He's doing it again with this water. Living water. If you drink from this water, you're going to thirst. You'll be thirsty again if you drink from this water. But the water I have, we should never thirst again. She said she was still shocked and focused on her dead water. As you can see, again, Nicodemus did the same exact thing, and Jesus said you must be born again. How can I, again, be born again? Come on, I'm again. She did the exact same thing, focusing on the physical, not the spiritual. She was like, how can I get this water? She was thinking of a little water that she could drink. How can I get this water so I don't have to come back here? She even said that. In verse 15. The woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water that I might thirst, never to come hither again and draw. Again, thinking of the physical. She was just thinking, oh, well, if I don't have to come back here, you can give me that water, so I don't even have to come back here ever again. She still didn't understand, but asked for the water anyway. She didn't truly understand what Jesus was talking about. But still, she asked for the water anyway. The living water, John 4, 16 through 18. Marriage was meant to be a one-time. Death do us part used to mean this, even if only dating for a short time. Death do us part for many now means until something better comes. Until I see something else. Until I see something in you that I didn't see before. You see it all the time now. They exchange partners like they're exchanging the pack of dog. They're changing out their clothes. Every week we see somebody's this person marrying this person getting a divorce, this person is not dating this person. We see it all the time. That wasn't God's intention. That wasn't God's command for us to just exchange our partners every time we felt like for whatever reason. This woman had found something better, apparently 5 times. She had 5 different husbands. Something better is not an option in Christian marriage. Someone had to think that marriage, divorce, and remarriage is completely fine. Getting a divorce, finding someone else is completely okay. We too can exchange our partners whenever we feel like, for whatever reason. Even though I wouldn't get one reason. Don't you? We should see it as Ruth saw her commitment to me. Thus said the Lord to me, and worse, if anything but death part you and me. That's how we should see it. That's how we should see it. True to the death do us part. Now let's go on to living worship. We see this in John 4, 19 through 26. She made an astute observation that he was a prophet. Lots of people think that Jesus was just a prophet. Lots of people think Jesus was just a good man. Jesus could only be one of 3 things: a lunatic. But how could he do so many great things and be crazy? Nicodemus, and why would anyone follow and go? And why would anybody follow a crazy guy? He was a lunatic. He was crazy. Number 2, a liar. By a show of hands, how many of us would die for a lie? not us. That's exactly what the apostle, that's exactly what the apostle did. They died for what Jesus was teaching. And if it was a lie, why in the world would Christians who were being killed in the latter part of the New Testament, we see that a lot in Revelation, why would they die if they knew something was a lie? Stoned, beheaded, set on fire, killed, bitten. Just some of the things that Christians, the apostles, go through. Things that we go through today. Constant persecution just for our beliefs. Constant ridicule just for what we believe. Why would any of us go through that at all? This is a lie. Easy. We would. Well, number 3, the Lord. The only option is that he was and is who he said that he was. He was God in the flesh. Number 2, he talked about worship. True worship is done in spirit and in truth. The location is not clear. See, what the Samaritan woman was worried about was tradition. Our Father said that we should worship here and in not. But you all, the Jews, say that true worship is in Jerusalem. Which one is right? See, from the living water conversation, you got to think about worship. Saying true worship, you go from living water to true worship. And that matter to think about worship. Well, if we're talking about true worship, which one of us is right? The Samaritans say we worship in the mountains. But the Jews say true worship is in Jerusalem. What did you say? And what did he answer? But there will be a time where we won't worship in the mountains. Oh, we worship in Jerusalem. We'll worship in spirit and truth. Look at what we have now. Churches of Christ all over the world. All over the globe. Worship most of us in spirit and in truth. As God intended. Could you imagine if we all, every first day of the week, we all had to travel to one solitary location and worship? Could you imagine going all the way to Jerusalem? No. Truly a blessing to just come drive 10 minutes down the road, come and worship, light of the saints and spirit and truth. Just to think that people don't know come. When we assemble for worship, it is done in spirit and in truth. It does not matter where it is or who it is with. Who is with you when you assemble for worship? Only God's presence is what matters. Living proof. We see that in John 25 through 26. The Samaritan woman knew that a Messiah was coming. Everyone knew the Messiah was coming. Everyone was in anticipation. We learned that earlier in our teaching, that they were waiting. The Messiah, the Messiah. Jesus' disciples were told other people. They were waiting. They were anticipating this. They were waiting a long time for this, for it to finally happen, for it to finally come true, for it to see it with their own eyes. It was a situation for them. Even the Samaritans knew the Messiah was coming. And Jesus said that Messiah that you see, I knew that you were looking for. And right before she fully had a reaction, the disciples came. And in that very same moment that she learned who Jesus was, what did she do? She didn't just sit on the jury. She ran. Notice that. She didn't walk. She didn't jog, she ran to go tell other people what she saw. Yeah, she dropped the water that she was looking for too. In high noon, thirsty, left that water and ran to go get other people to show them, to tell them what she seen, what she heard. Number 3, small distractions by the disciples. The disciples came back with food. They probably wanted to get out of there as quickly as they could. Disciples didn't necessarily have the same views as Jesus. Jesus wouldn't seek to save everyone was lost. The disciples were still under that umbrella that we shouldn't have dealings with the Samaritans. We even see this later on when the Gentiles were introduced to the church. Peter, eating with the Gentiles, seeing all the crowd of the Jews coming, got up, followed right behind those same Jews who Paul ridiculed. Peter was the first one to introduce the Gentiles into the church. He still got up for eating with the Gentiles. The first. This goes to show that even the best of us commit mistakes. They were likely speechless when they saw Jesus doing what he was doing. Like I said, he was in triple trouble. A Jew conversing with a Samaritan. Not only a Samaritan, but a Jew conversing with a woman. Not only that, but asking to touch a dish that a Samaritan touched earlier and has to touch it for a very long time. You could just imagine the look on the disciples' face when they came and they seen Jesus conversing with a Samaritan. They didn't ask him. They weren't afraid of to ask what he was doing or why he was doing it. But you can probably assume that in the head, this is a Samaritan. We're going to get in trouble with other Jews if they even hear that we're doing this. Like we said, the woman ran off. Like she stated, she forgot that water for her. But she didn't forget about Jesus. And she returned with the townspeople. How often do we convert? How often we went out and told everyone else what we learned, what we been through, what we heard, how we had that eternal life now? I would hope that after we hear have a really good message from the Word of God, we tell people about it. Get them to be converted. Get them to try to come to worship. Not only that, they asked him to stay. He did. I don't know this person. Aren't we glad that salvation wasn't just Christians? It was a great reaction by the townspeople. Let's go down to John 4:39. Let's read verses 39 to 42. Quickly as our time's coming down. Many of the Samaritans of the city believed on him for the saying of the woman. So the one person can do the entire time. One person going, dropping whatever she was doing, going to get the people of the town, running them to Jesus, and they believe what he said. Let's keep going. For they believed the woman saying, which testified, he told me of all that I ever did. So when the Samaritans were to come unto him, and besought him that he would tarry with them, he abode there 2 days. Let's think about that. It was a 3-day trip to go around Samaria. He ended up staying there for 2 days. Now imagine if Jesus would have abode by the Jewish traditions or what was common and went around Samaria and took that 3-year trip. He wouldn't have gotten all these people here to believe on him. Verse 41. And many more believe because of his own word. So staying in those 2 extra days, got more people to believe. 42. And he said unto the woman, now we believe not because of the saying, for we have heard in ourselves, and know that this is indeed Christ, the Savior of the world. So her telling them, not in there, them hearing it for themselves, seeing it for themselves, interacting with Jesus for themselves, they know, they do. This is Messiah. This is him. This is the man that we've been waiting for. The man that the whole Jewish faith is waiting for. This is him. There are times when we do this. Having a conversation with an elder, I learned that there are so many people who have been this close to the church. Learning how many celebrities that there were in church just baffles me. If they were here, they had the truth, they left it. Fame. But what is that going to get you in this world, in this life? Sure, oh man, we're famous actors, we'll have movies, we'll be embedded in the world, but that doesn't carry it over. That means absolutely nothing when all this world is over. And you're facing judgment. You can't bring God your movies. You can't bring God your money, your fame. The whole world has a whole different meaning than the people that are left the church. But anyway, teaching, preaching, get back to teaching. Because Jesus teaching, many developed faith. This faith was their own. It wasn't the faith of the woman that they gave to them, it was their own. They developed their own faith. Her telling them that what Jesus said got them in the door, but them staying, them listening, and hearing, that's what developed their own faith. Their faith was no longer based on the woman's testimony. Faith involves a conscious decision and a subsequent action. Faith requires you to make a decision. That's the decision. That's the decision. What's the action? The action is obedience. Faith is you. The decision gets you here. The action, the obedience, gets you there. It's a two-part. Now to conclude, the township had the people decide how they should respond to the woman's testimony. Meaning the town decided, okay, let's see what she's talking. How many people today will just roll this movie off? Come on, it's no way. Here, it's no way. There's probably some people in that day that did that. That didn't believe what she said, turned their back and walked away and missed out on the truth. Once they made the decision, they acted on that decision. Their simple belief will be faith. Belief gets you in here, faith gets you in there. Belief gets you in the door, gets you in the pew, in the chair. Faith gets you reward. All the more reason for people to say that all you have to do is believe that you're saved, for that to just not go anymore. Not go anymore. So many holes in that statement. This was an action-packed story. The preliminary actions of Jesus set the story up. Jesus defined all social barriers that the Jews had set against the Samaritan. Also, it set the story up. As I stated earlier, imagine if he just went along with those biases. There would have been a whole race of people that missed out on the truth. Jesus had an interaction with the woman. Again, social biases that didn't not want to have an interaction. Imagine if he stayed back. He got into Samaria and he didn't talk to her. And she wouldn't have dropped everything she was doing and ran to go get the townspeople. And they would have came back and their belief wouldn't have turned into faith. And they would have missed out. All because of social biases. There was a distraction by the disciples. Them arriving, them having their social biases. Could have been a distraction. Imagine how much good the church can do once we get rid of those racial biases. The black church, white church. We should. Imagine if we take that away, how much good that we can do. There was a great reaction from the townspeople. They took to the truth. They heard it. They took to it. Stuck with it. They believed. They believed that Jesus was the Christ. What a great reaction. But we see many times where the reaction to Jesus was the other way. Jesus took out the legion of demons out of the man and sent them into the herd of swine, and that swine went to the water. Those people didn't react like, oh, this man had demons in him, you vanished. Who are you? What a good man you are. Who are you? Tell us who you are. Tell us how you did it. Tell us your story. They didn't do that. They told you. They caused trouble. Think about all the times that the Pharisees saw in their heart to kill Jesus because of the truth that he was saying. Because of the things that they believed were complete contradictions to the word of God. They saw him kill himself. Reaction goes both ways. This was a good reaction. But do not let the action cause you to miss the message. We must avoid falling into cultural issues when it comes to the gospel. Cultural issues today, race, even some gender biases, things like that that we just constantly get flooded with the news and social media and on TV and things like that. You can't let that hold us back from teaching people the gospel. Whether it's a Jew, a Samaritan issue, a male offender issue, God is good. Not only that, we must remember that Jesus provides that living water for all. Not just for those who are in the church. Everyone has an opportunity to drink from that water. We have to give people that opportunity to decide for themselves whether they will drink or not. very important issues that are resolved as a criminal. Thank you guys for your time. Let's pray for worship.